Viele Unternehmen erzählen, dass sie für die Zukunft bereit sind. Webb sagt, die meisten sind es nicht. In diesem Gespräch geht es um die unbequemen Wahrheiten für Wirtschaft, Mittelstand und Politik. Warum Stillstand jetzt gefährlich wird. Warum KI nicht nur Chance, sondern auch Verdrängung bedeutet. Und warum ausgerechnet Deutschland enorme Möglichkeiten hat, wenn wir endlich mutiger werden. Dieses Interview ist kein Wohlfühltalk, sondern ein Weckruf. Unbedingt anschauen.
I would say most companies are not preparing for the future, and that is because they're not dedicating, the resources that are required to do that informed long-term planning, and they don't have the institutional capabilities for it either. Sure. So a hard truth is you may need to excise the thing that has kept your business afloat for many years because it may not be the thing that continues to grow revenue going forward. And that can be really challenging for a lot of leaders. The thing to do next is to answer three questions. Where is the world going? Where will value be created? And how will we participate? Those three questions are very difficult to answer because it means you have to confront your cherished beliefs about business in the present. Look, I think in Germany, you've got a very powerful Mittelstand that has, in my opinion, it's a huge group. So this is not true of every single company, but in my opinion, has been a little reluctant to be flexible and adaptable. And that has been fine in the past, but I think going forward with all of the changes that are happening, that may wind up being a liability. Well, yeah, so trends are, again, like individual data points. They're very important, but on their own, they're not useful. And that's nothing new. I've been explaining that for many years. Convergences include trends as well as uncertainties and catalysts, these other factors that combine and create something net new. Companies need to track both. So the trends are important, but they're also inputs to these convergences that really reset how business is done. And so they need to be also looking at those convergences. Well, I feel pretty caught up, and well, but I don't mean to sound glib, but you shouldn't be playing catch up. My job is to make sure that we are never surprised and our clients are never surprised. But as a leader, that is also your job to never be surprised, which means you should always be caught up. You have to have a constant stream of information that is accurate, that is comprehensive, and you need to have a framing to help you make sense of it. Yeah, I mean, sure. Look, there are plenty of examples where businesses did the right thing, the leaders did the right thing, which was to continue investing in the core product while thinking about future disruption and investing in that too. There's a media company in Norway called Schibsted.
Schibsted, yeah.
And Schibsted in the 90s saw the internet coming and the advertising market changing and did an excellent job of continuing to invest in the news business while at the same time building a very early digital advertising group, and thinking about how the future might change and socializing that internally. So they basically created time.
Yeah.
Right? They had the ability to make the right choices. That was not true at nearly every other news organization on the planet that ignored the internet at their own peril and then found that their economic model didn't work anymore. Yeah, I mean, CEO turnover has gone a little faster, so people are in their jobs less. And what we're seeing is that a lot of CEOs were previously CFOs.
Yeah.
And that's true in many countries. Now, why is that happening? Why do we see CFOs ascending to CEO rather than having a visionary person come in? It's because of all of the uncertainty. So in times of deep uncertainty and when the macroeconomic conditions are a little shaky, boards like having a CFO because they represent stability and they know how to manage through short-term financial problems. This is why you don't see the visionary CEOs coming in. The problem is that CEOs brought in to stabilize a company are going to be okay for the next couple of years, but they create a vulnerability where a competitor could come in to disrupt. So they need a partner to help them create that longer term vision while they do the stabilization. You know, there are examples of so like Netflix right now has their co-CEOs. One of them is really a content person, a studio person, and the other one is an engineer. And that works really well. It's also, that's how the company was founded originally, and it works for them. It may be harder for a company that's, only ever had a CEO to suddenly have a co-CEO. But obviously in Europe, that's very different because the management committee, is very different. Like the CEO there is very different from a CEO in the US. I think it depends on which country, but
Germany.
I think
Let's talk about Germany.
Sure, infrastructure. So the companies I think that will be most valuable will be the companies that have created the infrastructure to enable the next generations of technology. In Germany, that means much more advanced telecommunications. Well, because the current landscape was built for, and the telecommunications infrastructure was built for people downloading, not for upstream data. Look at the robotics that are coming and all of the automation. It's the inverse of that. So if German telecommunications companies are able to move a little faster and be more innovative, that is going to catapult Germany. And the same thing with different types of robotics, not just warehouse robotics, but other types. That's all infrastructure. So I think that's kind of the name of the game over the next couple of years. I think that there is nothing but opportunity in Germany because the industries that will matter going forward, the skills that are required, those are the skills that Germany has in abundance. I think now that the main thing holding Germany back is a willingness to take a strategic risk. Because nobody wants to fail, and I totally understand that. But now would be the time to find and take some of those strategic risks. I think probably it's the same story as the United States. We have not encouraged enough people to go into the trades. Skilled craftsmen, skilled trades are enormously important going forward. And those jobs are, from my point of view, if you're a skilled mason, for example, for me, you're at the same level as like a skilled coder. Right? We don't value those people the same way in society, which is a huge mistake. So I think people who become excellent at those trades, they will be fine. Healthcare is another industry where we don't have enough people, and AI and robots are not going to solve that problem. There are plenty of jobs out there that will be needed. We just don't have enough skilled people for those jobs is the problem. That's an education problem because, and it's the same in the US. In Germany, is it in middle school when you have to take the test that determines which high school kind of puts you on your path for the rest of your life, right? Okay. So part of this is marketing. It's a different marketing story to encourage more people and also paying them better to go into these other fields. But again, same issue in the United States. I think politicians play an enormous role because in addition to policy and governance, which is their primary responsibility, they also set the vision for the future of the country.
Yeah.
And that vision should be aspirational and it should galvanize support. I would love to see some politicians in Germany say, from an economic point of view, this is where we're headed, and this is how we're going to get there, and 10 years from now, and then start encouraging public-private partnerships to get there.
Yeah.
That has to come from, leaders in government, and that's in every country. Again, not just Germany. Yeah, I mean, look, it depends on the business.
Yeah.
So if you are if you're a professional transcriber and you're getting people's audio files, for medicine, for example, or whatever, you have a problem. Like AI is going to do that job faster, better, easier.
Yeah.
So that business has basically no time. There are other types of businesses where there's a little bit longer of a time horizon, but this is less about which industries go away overnight and more about which ones change. That's a good question.
The first one.
Well, no, I was just thinking, I was going to, in the past 24 hours or so at South by Southwest, I have, there's a massive amount of photos of me online, but I wasn't in the photo. So people are deep faking me using AI in photos, which is inauthentic.
Yeah.
In a world where anybody can use ChatGPT to write their news story or write their LinkedIn post, people who can, in a way, I think video becomes really important because at the moment that's still kind of hard to fake.
Yeah.
So brands that can show up and be almost prove that they were where they said they were, or they're having these conversations, I think are going to do well going forward. Flexibility. Companies that are willing to be flexible and adaptable and can, again, they know where they're going, but they're willing to make twists and turns to get there. Those companies are going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's the companies that stay totally rigid and will not change and believe they have more time to make decisions. Those are the ones that are going to have serious problems. It's the same advice I always give to Germany. Try to, there is a lot of opportunity, but it's going to be hard to see if you don't believe in yourselves.
Yeah.
And that just means take some risks, and be willing to fail sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.